I guess I should put this here. Everything's a little inverted, but anybody and everybody, thanks for joining. Fucking. All right, I'm going to be building Umbris Fear Manifest today. And just got a pile of cards going through it. I'm going to kind of go with the ideas I kind of came up with. And we're just going to work our way through it. I don't know how long this is going to take. I don't know. Probably not going to get done today. But so if it's too loud, or you don't like something about it, just let me know in the comments. This is my first time streaming, and let's get this looking good after this time. So Umbris Fear Manifest, 3 colorless, blue, black, and then it's a 1/1, but it gets +1/+1 for each card your opponents own and exile. So that's all of them, obviously, but not yourself. Whenever Umbris or another nightmare or horror enters the battlefield under your control, target opponent exiles cards from the top of their library until they exile a land card. So kind of a cool, unique idea here. You're probably going to be going with nightmares and or horrors, and we will see where we end up going from there. Now, this is an ETB deck. It can be. And so, we'll get to Panharmonicon and stuff like that. I think that's probably the way I'm leaning to go. But Umbris seems pretty cool, so I'm gonna drop that down below. We're just gonna talk through a ton of cards. This first batch is gonna be cards that, kinda do random exiling, and we'll see what works and what doesn't. Grip of Amnesia will counter a spell unless they want to exile their graveyard, and then you get to draw a card. So kind of cool there. Dissipate exiles the creature after it is sweet. Thank you, Adam. So the sounds good. I am not giving myself props. No. So dissipate. You're going to counter a spell, and that will be exiled that turn. I don't think that's going to go very far, in my opinion. But also, if you're just doing the random exile thing, that could work. Nezumi Grave Robber can exile cards from graveyards at 2 per, which is kind of expensive, but then it flips and you can start reanimating, which might be nice with your nightmares and horrors. Tormod's Crypt exiles graveyards. Phantom Steed is kind of a cool card. When it enters the battlefield, exile another target creature you control until Phantom Steed leaves the battlefield. So you'd be exiling one of your nightmares, horrors, and then whenever it attacks, create a tapped and attacking token that's a copy of the exiled creature. So it'd come in, and that player would exile until he hit a land. And if you're able to kind of do that a bunch, it's just kind of like repeatable potential exile there. So kind of a cool card. And actually, Gwen brought it up today. I've had it in my pile for a while, but from the Discord. So it's going to be kind of cool. Another thing to kind of look for is Eldrazi from the fucking Discord's loud in my ear, so we're gonna get rid of that. Boy. Eldrazi from Battle for Zendikar and Oath of the Gatewatch. They both kind of deal with exiling and bringing stuff back, so that could be kind of fun. Mind Melter will exile 1 card from their hand, which could be kind of cool, but it's for 4 at that point. Might be a bit expensive as well. Sire Stagnation will probably make this deck. So it's whenever an opponent has a land come into play that exile 2 cards and you draw 2 cards. Seems fantastic in here. Fathom Feeder, again, if it deals damage to them, they exile, or you can pay 5 to draw a card, and each opponent exiles the top card. That's just not doing enough. But it's kind of cool. 1/1 Death Touch. Not bad. Hostage Taker will exile a creature. I think would like to have exile effects for my removal, which kind of makes sense. But Hostage Taker, you get it back. That's kind of advantage. Ona, Queen of the Fae, also exiles your opponent's libraries. And so it depends on, if I want to go with like Maskwood Nexus and have those fairies come in as, Nightmares, horrors, and just start milling a ton, could be sweet. Ashiok does everything you want in a deck. It's going, or in this deck, exiling your opponent's graveyards and also stopping them from searching. Ashiok Nightmare Weaver also exiles cards. Ashiok seems like really cool in this style of deck because she's kind of a nightmare. There's another one that does that. Bane of Balaged, when it attacks, they exile two permanents they have. Might be a bit expensive. Thought Not Seer, which is a modern all-star, or was, exiles a card. Don't know if that's going to work here. Lantern of the Lost exiles all graveyards. I'm not really sure I want to be exiling my graveyard in this, but it's good to have in the pile in case, because you're drawing cards and stuff like that. Relic exiles everybody's graveyard and draws you a card. Soul Guide Lantern is for sure making this deck because it exiles your opponent's graveyards, and you can draw a card if you don't need to do that. Sentinel Totem also exiles all graveyards. Again, not sure. Nihil Spellbomb, just exiling a sorry, just looking at the chat a little bit. And so that is targeted on a graveyard, but paying that black to be able to draw a card could be interesting or nice. Go blank seems cool. Somebody's discarding 2 cards and you're exiling their graveyard. That seems like a big move. Elspeth's Nightmare will exile an opponent's graveyard, and you get to destroy a creature, and they discard a card. This one seems meh so far. Ashes to Ashes, old school art. Oh God, old cards look beautiful. But this exiles 2 creatures of your choice, and you lose 5 life. Curse of the Swine exiles X amount of creatures of your choice. Mind's Dilation, whenever your opponent plays their first card, they exile the top card. So they're doing the work to exile cards for you, and you get some card advantage that way too. Reality Shift is exile removal. Raven Form, exile removal. Mind Swords is exile hand. And then you can play for free technically, but 2 is not that bad. So could be kind of a cool card. And this does hit you as well. So Parallax Nexus, that exiles cards from hand as well. But when this leaves play, they come back and adds fading. I don't know about this one. Planar Void exiles all permanents when they go into the graveyard. Whenever a card is put in the graveyard, remove that card from the game. Gravestorm is a foily, spiked basically because of this deck, but if your opponent cannot remove a card in the graveyard, you get to draw a card. You can choose. It's going to be kind of a cool card here. Cunning Rhetoric, whenever somebody attacks you, they will exile a card. So they're doing the work for you. I kind of like this idea here. Don't get too big of a head at him, because I know he loved this card. I was pretty met on it, but I think it works here. Sever the Bloodline is exile removal. Exile removal. Leyline of the Void exiles your opponent's graveyards. Deadly Rollick is exile removal. Sats of Will. This exile cards from your opponent's graveyards, and then you get creatures. And then also each opponent sacrifices a creature with the greatest power. So that can be kind of a nice swing that's also on theme in this deck. This is exile board wipe. Descent into Madness, I think, is going to be really tough because you're not. I don't think this deck has you having more permanence than your opponents, and this exiles. So it's probably just going to. I'm just going to cut it right now. Settle the Score. It's exile removal, but it's sorcery. So I'm not a huge fan of this one, but I'll keep it in so far. Withered Wretch. You can pay 1, exile target card. I think we're going to have enough mass graveyard removal that we probably won't need to play this, but it's an option. Author of the Shadows. When it ETBs, exile cards from all opponents' graveyards, which is good. Choose a non-land card exiled this way. You may cast that card as long as it remains exiled. And so this is kind of a cool little card advantage way of doing it. Web of Inertia. At the beginning of each opponent's combat phase, that player may remove a card in his or her graveyard from the game. If the player doesn't, creatures he or she controls can't attack you this turn. So if you're controlling the graveyards pretty well, nobody's going to be able to attack you. This is going to be a fantastic card, totally making it in. Callous Blood Mage, you can exile target player's graveyard, and it can draw you a card or create a token. So some versatility there. Cheap, 2/1, might work. Brain Maggot, probably won't work, but when it comes into play, exile a card from an opponent's hand. And I think it's going to probably not make the cut, kind of like Thought Not Seer. Dark Imposter exiles, but 6 is a lot. So I don't think that's going to work. Keru Mind Eater, you get to combat damage to a player. That player exiles a card from his or her hand, and then you can play that card. So again, they're doing the work for you. I think that's going to be really cool. Gaunty, ETBs, somebody exiles 4, you get to play a card from that if you choose and forever. Dragu, Necromancer. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, exile it. So it's kind of that graveyard hate, but then you can play it with snow mana if you want. I don't have a lot of snow stuff going on here, so I'm not sure if this will make it, but I think it's an interesting idea. Stolen Goods will exile cards until you hit a non-creature, non-land spell and you get to cast it, and that all those cards still stay exiled. That could be kind of a fun thing to do. Void Shatter is kind of a counterspell that exiles. Induced Amnesia exiles a hand, and then when this leaves play, they draw that many cards. So, kind of cool. Let me just read that, make sure. Enters the battlefield, target player exiles all cards from his or her hand face down, then draws that many cards. So they still draw that card. And then when it's put into the graveyard from the battlefield, return the exiled cards to their owner's hand. So probably not going to make it. Probably not going to make that cut because they're still drawing the cards unless you're going to like affect yourself. And I would suggest not. I'm going to bring up something about the double paragraph in this style of card later, because I do have some horrors that do something like that, but I'm just going to cut this right away. Ashiok's Eraser will exile a spell, so it's kind of like a counterspell, but if this goes away, they get it back. Not sure if that's worth it either. Summary Dismissal is an exile counterspell. Parallax Tide removes a lands from the game, but it has fading again. So when this goes away after the fade counters, you get to remove fade counters to remove land. I think it's just a little too much work and not going to really work in this style of deck. It goes great in Blinking, but not necessarily here, I don't think. So cutting that right away. Chain of Vapor, I was thinking that it's okay if horrors and nightmares come back to my hand because then I can replay them. So I'm not worried about the Chain of Vapor, people sacking lands, and then it's just really cheap kind of bounce removal anyway. So I was kind of like, that's cool. Endbringer's Revel, 2 colorless and a black. You can pay for return target creature card from a graveyard to its owner's hand. Any player may play this ability, but only anytime he or she could play a sorcery. So your opponent shouldn't have any creatures in their graveyard with this. 4 is kind of a lot to bring back a creature, but I think when people go, what is that card doing? I think it kind of works in here. So I think it's kind of cool in that regard. Oh, now we're getting into my Blinky package. Let's do that here. So let's get to something a little bit more known so I can talk about it. Okay, Mikaeus. So whenever a creature you control dies, and it doesn't have a +1/+1 counter on it, it comes back with a 1/1 counter on it. And then if it's a horror or a nightmare, you're milling somebody. And so I was thinking this is kind of like, it's like a blink, but it's a dead blink. And blue has enough blink that you can fill that in and you'll see some of those cards too. So I think this is where I'm going to kind of go, is with the death blinking. And False Demise does that. It's an aura. You put it on a creature. When it dies, it comes back into play under your control. Necromancer's Mark Mage. If a creature you control that's enchanted would be put into a graveyard, return it to its owner's hand instead. So, that's instead? Yeah, so the card comes back to your hand. Kind of cool in that regard. Creatures you control are enchanted, get +1/+1, can't be blocked except by creatures with Defender. This one probably won't make it because it doesn't really work in there, but I have some auras in here that might work. Fool's Demise, when it's put in the graveyard, put it into your hand, and then it also has the when a creature dies, bring that creature back to your hand. A bit expensive, but we'll see. Dream of the Dead, I just did a curated on that. If you want to look at shorts, this is kind of a cool card, but you can pay 2 blue or a blue and a colorless, bring back a black creature, and basically gains cumulative upkeep 2. And if it leaves play, it's exiled. But this is a nice way to bring back a bunch of creatures really quick and easy. Um, and you're not going to see this a lot either. So I think it's kind of a cool. Lifeline is fantastic. If you don't have it, go get it. It's crazy. So if I'm sacrificing my horror at the end of the turn, it's going to come back if I have any creature in play, and I can just keep on doing that and do a lot of milling. Lifeline is going to be insane in here. Displace is just a double blink. Blink with 2 creatures. Deny Navigator can blink a ton of creatures. Might be really cool in here. Probably will. Blade of Selves. I do have some proxies in here, so don't get too crazy. Blade of Selves is going to make 2 other Nightmare Horrors if you attach it to or equip it to one of those. So I think that's going to be kind of a good idea. Panharmonicon is going to double trigger that Umbris. So probably going in here. Cloudstone Curio is whenever you cast one of those creatures, you're going to bring another creature back. You're going to mill them, and you're just going to be able to kind of, it's the best juggling card basically there is. So again, it's expensive. If you don't have it, try and get it though. Vidalcan Mastermind allows you to pay a blue, tap it, and then you can return a permanent you control. Part of the blinking just being able to replay and have those creatures come back into play. I think it's going to be cool. Cunning Evasion will return creatures if they're blocked, if you so choose. Portal Sanctuary, pay 1, tap it, return a creature you control, sorcery speed. Crystal Shards, same thing, but anytime. So this card is an all-star for sure. Mimic Vat, if one of your horrors dies, you put it under there, and then you can pay 3, tap this, put a token into play, and get that exiling going. Supernatural Stamina. Until end of turn, target creature gets +2/+0 and gains. When this creature dies, return it to the battlefield tapped under its own control. So see that, like what I'm saying about blinking, it's death blinking. So it dies, comes back into play, and you're getting that trigger again. Kaya's Ghost Form, which again, very similar. When it dies, put in exile, return that card to the battlefield under your control. Phyrexian Reclamation, just steady. You're going to get those creatures back into your hand, which allows you to replay them. This card is a staple, in my opinion. Malakir Rebirth, shiny. And then until end of turn, that creature gains. When this creature dies, return it to the battlefield tapped under your control. Undying Evil gives the creature Undying, so it'll come back with a 1/1 counter. Isn't going to work with Mikaeus, but it's just a different version of that instant speed. And all the instants can be played when somebody's like trying to remove your creatures, and you can be like, well, boom, coming back anyway. Shade's Form, it's an aura. When enchanted creature is put into a graveyard, return the creature to play under your control. Infernal Offering I thought was kind of cool. Choose an opponent. You and that player each sacrifice a creature. Each player who sacrifices a creature draws 2 cards. And then return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Then that player returns a creature card from their graveyard to the battlefield. So you're controlling graveyards. Even if they're sacrificing, they might not be able to, if you have a Planar Void, well, if a Planar Void is out, you're not going to get yours back either. But if you have the ley line out, they don't get their creature because it goes away. You still get yours. Could be a fun way to work. Incarnation Technique. Mill 5 cards, then return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. And you can do that again. And if the graveyards are being exiled when you're casting this, you can copy it, and then the person that you're giving that to, they have to mill 5, and then they don't have any creature to bring back. So it could be kind of a cool card here as well. Cauldron of Souls. This card's crazy good. It gives all your creatures persist, so they'd come back with -1/-1 counters. This works really well with Mikaeus coming back and forth, but there's no real combo. There's just strong synergy here. I don't play a lot of combo where it's just going to boom, 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 everybody's exiled. That's not going to happen in this deck. You might be able to, but that's just not something I'm aiming for. Nightmare Shepherd will bring back those Nightmare and Horrors, but they'll be exiled, but they're 1/1s. So kind of like a bad Mikaeus, but still really cool. This is going to be a blink. Could be cool. Essence Flux. Teferi's Time Twist is a blink, targeted blink. Ghostly Flicker will blink 2 of your creatures. So I don't have a lot here, but Evasion, I have a feeling, is going to be pretty strong. So I'm pretty sure that Umbris is going to want to be a little bit of Voltron. He's going to get huge, right? Like, and so making him imblockable in a one shot is going to make him really good. So Key of the City taps to make it unblockable. Same thing as Aqueous form. I'll probably have to go through and find some others that allow Umbris to be unblockable. Ulamog Nullifier is a counterspell, essentially. ETBs, put 2 cards from your opponent's graveyard into exile, from exile, and then if you do counter target spell, it's going to be expensive. Not sure if I'm really willing to pay that much for Eldrazi's. You know, it's just not really there. But Oblivion Sower is going to be huge, because what that does is when you cast it, target opponent exiles the top 4 cards of his or her library. Then you may put any number of land cards that player owns from exile into the battlefield under your control. This is going to be your best ramp card in blue-black. It's going to be crazy in this deck for sure. Blight Herder, you can bring back 2 cards from, or 1 or 2 cards from exile and create 3 1/1s. I liked the idea when I was starting this, but I don't think it's the way I'm going. I'm not going to process cards. There's just not a lot going on with it. And that was probably the biggest issue with Battle for Zendikar and Gatewatch. This one puts a card an opponent owns from exile into play, tap target creature, like for 3, and then making Umbris smaller. It's just not going to do a lot. But like I was saying, you can go to Battle for Zendikar, check out some of those cards, see if it'll work. You can draw a card, discard a card for the processing. This one might be worth it. When Mindraker comes into play, an opponent owns from exile, or you may put a card an opponent owns from exile into that player's graveyard. If you do, each opponent discards a card. That's not a big cost for everybody discarding a card, and it's an ETB, not a cast trigger, which a lot of Eldrazi are. So this one might actually make it. Wasteland Strangler puts an exile card into the graveyard. Target creature gets -3/-3. And this is an ETB as well, so that might be worth it. Heirloom Blade is going to be pretty cool in here if we go tribal, like strong tribal. Whenever equipped creature dies, you may reveal a card from the top of your library until you reveal a creature card that shares a creature type with it. Put that card into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in random order. Should do some work in this deck, especially if you're sacrificing. There's another Ashiok. This one's probably I'm just going to cut it right now. It's not really exiling. It's not really making any nightmares. Moving on. Unfulfilled Desires, one of the best draw cards in the game. You're going to pay 1 life, draw a card, discard a card. You just move through decks when you're needing it. Phyrexian Arena, staple. Grim Haruspex, Yes, Steve. Whisper Silk Cloak and Rogue's Passage work really good. Totally agree. Crumbling Sanctuary is almost a must have. Is Crumbling Sanctuary the one? Which one is that the land that will get you? What, I can't even think of that one right now. Sorry. But I think yeah, definitely want some stuff that's going to get you unblockability and get that Umbris one-shotting people. Another draw card for creatures dying. Drawing for creatures dying. a sack outlet. That's what we're moving into now. A couple different sack outlets. And then also kind of fun. It flips into a horror, but it's not going to really help you. It's like on flavor, but not really. Oh yeah, Crumbling Sanctuary. That's right. Actually, I don't know if I have that card, but when you deal damage, it exiles cards instead. I think I think that works really well. I'll have to make a note of that. Thank you for that idea. Bon Jovi Burns. We'll call you Mr. Burns. Understudy Informer is target player reveals cards from the top of the library until he or she reveals a land card and puts those cards in their graveyard. So kind of on theme with the milling until land. But it's that sacrificing a creature. I think I need to find more of the Machias style cards, but might not need it either. Viscera Seer is great sack outlet. Soldevi Adnate, tap, sacrifice a black artifact creature, and then add amount of black. So there's going to be a pretty good. It's sacrificing, it's adding mana. It should do really well in this deck. Nightscape Familiar reduces your blue spells by 1. Sea Scryer can tap for a colorless. Not sure if that's really necessary in here. Probably. Just go with artifacts. Talisman of Dominance, Demir's Signet. Those are just Solemn Simulacrum. Adds that mana and draw. I will see if that makes it. Burnished Heart might make it as a ramp card. So Herald's Horn is gonna go in here if I'm going like I think horrors seem to be probably a main theme here, and so that'll reduce them by 1. And if I have one on top, I can reveal it and put it in my hand. That should be decent in here. But I need to make sure there's enough horrors in here. It's all right. And then and so this is a card that I would like to see work. And if this does work, then I'll definitely have to do that one that reduces by 2. I'm not even sure if that's in here. Staple, probably a make it. Obviously, Felwar Stone works too. Arcane Signet, Mind Stone. Oh, Urza's Incubator was what I was meaning. So that could reduce horror by 2. Totally works. Seeing a deck built is really cool, but I have to work early. I'm sorry. Maybe next time. Urza's Incubator. We'll see if that, again, if I'm going more tribal. Heartless Summoning could be something cool because it's reducing the cost of my creatures by 2. I don't think I'm going to have a lot of 1/1s. Not going to really worry about it. Oh, I did have Whisper Silk Cloak. All right. See, I'm on page with you guys already. Got to protect your Umbris, and Greaves and Boots are necessary. I want to try Winged Boots. Giving him flying is a little bit of evasion. If you're going more tribal, are you going to include things like Maskwood Nexus? I think Maskwood Nexus is in here. Because also making the tokens that are changelings are just going to be super nice anyway. And again, at the end, I'm going to have to see how many of those horrors work. Whispering Madness allows you to... I'm probably not going to go with the wheels in here. There's a couple of different types of wheels. So we'll see if that Dark Deal is kind of a wheel. Ill-Gotten Gains has the discard and putting 3 cards back into your hand. We'll have to see if that's going to work. Whispering Madness is pretty cool. But so like there's a horror that like gets +2/+2 for every discarded card your opponents do. So I can see those wheels like just making him huge, and he has fear. And that's why I kind of was thinking discard, but I don't think it's going to be huge in here. But Waste Not, if I'm trying to force everybody to discard, I think totally works here. Windfall, Mind Crank, I think could be kind of cool whenever they're dealt damage. So kind of like the Crumbling, what was it? Sanctuary. Whenever they're dealt damage, they mill or exile. I think they both really work in there. Phoenix. So tapping to mill cards, that could work if I don't want to be attacking, and I'm just sitting back and mill, blocking, having them die, and I'm just playing the long game, Fenix could be a way to make this kind of work. Altar of Dementia, that's another sack outlet that mills. Hopefully they're coming back. Tasha's Hideous Laughter. This exiles fucking exile. Each opponent exiles cards from the top of their library until that player has exiled cards with total mana value 20 or more. That's probably going to do a lot of work, but it's just mill. So I don't, the milling part, I'd like cards to do a little bit more than that or be a permanent. So we'll see. Startled Awake is kind of cool here because you're milling 13, but when you're paying the 5 and bringing it back, it's ETBing as a nightmare, and then you're going to get in your 1 fucking damage, and then you can mill 3 again. So interesting, probably expensive, but I'm not going to poo-poo it if you want to put in your deck. Steve is saying consuming aberration in this. Oh yeah. That totally fits. And I think that's in the, that section there. Bubble Matrix and Statecraft basically reduce damage to your creatures. So this is, if I go mill with Phalanx and I just want to like have my creatures be able to survive blockers, that's kind of where I'm thinking, along with Meshin, the Mind Cage. All creatures get -X, -O. So nobody has any power, nobody's attacking, and you're probably going to survive with a mill style plan. Arcane Artisan. I can exile, or target player draws, then exiles a card from their hand. If a creature card is exiled this way, that player creates a token that's a copy of that card. I don't know if I really like this one here. Like, I think it said exile. I was thinking like, oh, I can exile one of my creatures, put a horror into play, but I'm not going to want to do that. Then I was thinking some clones could really work here. That could be fun. So Mirror Image is just an ETB. It'd be a Nightmare Horror. Orvar might just fit in this deck anyway, because targeting with, let's see here. Oh, it has to be an instant or sorcery spell. I was thinking auras might work with it too, but there might be enough instance where I'm targeting my stuff to save it, where Orvar would copy it. That could be a fun idea. And it is a nightmare or horror, whatever that's working there. So I think that could be a fun way of doing it. Stunt Devil is a copy. Spark Devil is definitely going in. Mirror Mockery, whenever you have a horror attack, you're making a copy of it as well. Or if somebody wants to like Blightsteel Colossus you and you put this on there, when they attack you, you have a blocker, it dies or whatever. Could be kind of fun that way too. Reflections, it's going to draw you cards, right? Is that what happened? Oh no, it's making copies. This one's making copies. So making copies is good. Making copies. Anybody get that reference? Office Space? Come on. Another demonstrate card, making copies. So you make a copy of 2 nightmares. They can choose to make a copy of something that they want. Just choose somebody that doesn't have something huge. Okay. So I got another one in here, but the old mercenaries, some of them, you can pay 2, pay 3, and go search for mercenaries. These are nightmares or horrors, one of the 2. I don't remember. They're not going to be good. And so, but that could be something like I was seeing a little bit of a theme where you could be doing like reducing activated ability costs. And if you went that route, this could really help. But these cards just aren't that good anymore. But it could be a fun budget build or something like that. So just thought that I'd point it out. These are going away. Oh, it was making copy. You're right. Rob Schneider. Oh, oh boy. What am I doing? All right. Getting into horrors at this point. Horrors. Just some kind of cool different types of horrors. Gosh, does it sound bad? Does it sound bad when I say horrors? I don't know if that's a Minnesota thing or horrors. Okay. Doesn't really matter. Like, one thing that I noticed is that there isn't a whole ton of like cohesion in what nightmares or horrors are doing, and so it's hard to like lean into whatever theme they're doing because they don't have much. So this one attacks, everybody loses, your opponents lose 2 life. Hullbreaker Horror is gonna make it. It's freaking ridiculous card, right? Phyrexian Gargantuan's a horror. Drawing 2 cards, losing 2 life, not too bad, but the CMC might be a little too high on that. Tharming Bird, it's proliferating, it's a horror, but I don't have a lot of tokens, or I don't have a lot of counters, so whatever. Thing of the Ice, it's a horror, and it's gonna do some work in this deck. Amoeboid, blah, blah, oh man, Amoeboid Changeling. It's a horror, but I don't know if that's gonna really work because it's not doing much beyond. Horror, just a little one. Shapeshare. I'm not a huge fan of using Changeling to like fill out tribal decks, but some of this stuff is kind of fun. So we'll see if that makes it. Chasm Skulker, which was on our staple verses this week, and I was a lush, and so I probably sounded like an idiot, but that's okay. And also all those tokens coming into play, they're just squid, but I'm just making sure. Yep, they're just a blue squid. But if you got Mass Squid Nexus, that can be a lot of milling going on at that point. Swimmer in Nightmares, it gets +3/+0 if you have an Ash or 10 or more cards in the graveyard, and then can't be blocked if you control an Ashiok Planeswalker. So I'm going to have a few Ashioks in here, at least 2 in my mind, maybe 3. It's cheap at 3 mana. Might make it. It's going to be a nice blocker for me. Everybody attacks me. Scab Ruinator. You got to exile 3 creature cards from your graveyard. Not sure if I'm super keen on that. But you can recast it from your graveyard. This one doesn't really turn me on too much. Grizzleaxe is going to be amazing. I like that guy. Dream Eater, Nightmare. If I end up going into horror more, I'm gonna probably end up cutting this, but I do like it quite a bit. All right, Corey's saying I keep thinking Kuruk not really on theme, but it's a horror. I think Kuruk's in my. I'll get to him too. Doesn't want to pay life cards. Yeah. So Kuruk should be interesting in here. Mind Flayer is a horror. Not sure if that's gonna really 5 for stealing a creature ain't my favorite. Docent of Perfection is a horror, making creatures. Flippin', it's not gonna do a whole ton for you because you don't have wizards really. So, but it'll be bigger. Another horror, but it's gonna get -1/-1. I don't know how much cards I'm gonna have in my hand. And so this might not really work for me. Consuming Aberration, as somebody said earlier, definitely fits this deck. Simple, easy. Mind Leech Mass. Again, this is probably too expensive in the CMC for not doing enough here. You play, what is it? Deals combat damage to a player. You may look at that player's hand. If you do, you may play a non-land card without paying it. Like, that's just not going to be enough, in my opinion. Nemesis of Reason, it's milling, it's a horror. Has a good chance. Dinrova horror, it goes deep. There's a lot of horrors. This is just bouncing, and they got a discard for 6. We'll see. Devourer of Memories from Theros Beyond Death. It's a nightmare. Whenever one or more cards are put into a graveyard from your library, put a 1/1 until end of turn. It's cheap enough to make me think about it. And then you can put the top card of your library into your graveyard. I'm not super keen on that, but we'll see. Slitherwisp probably doesn't make it because I don't really have many cards with flash in here. But I do want to make a flash deck. So one day I do like that card. So Ashiok, this is the one that makes nightmares. 2/3 nightmares. Yep. So this one will probably make it. Call of the Nightwing. This makes little black horrors and black and blue horrors with flying, and then it has ciphers. So you're like tucking it on a creature, and then whenever they deal damage, you're making another token. That could be a nice way. Riptide Mangler. I'm not even sure which one that is, Mr. Burns. Um, Phyrexian Revoker. That's a horror. Probably will make it. Psychosis Crawler. Horror. Also probably going to make it. I like it. Eternal Scourge, Eldrazi Horror, and you can cast it from exile. So if your stuff is being exiled, you can recast it to kind of redo it. So if Planar Void is happening, or else you're exiling it from your stuff as well, maybe that works pretty well in there. All right, so going into it, I got a stack of horrors, huh? We'll go like that. All right. So one thing that I did notice, you do have a lot of horrors with poison and infect. I'm going to instantly cut them. I don't want infect in my deck. You got exiling, you got Umbris that's probably going to be Voltroning, and so, but there is at least a handful of horrors that are infect, so that could be a way that you want to go too, and you can equip up Umbris and make them infectish and probably win even quicker one-shotting. So if that's a way that you want to go, for sure, that'd be really cool. Plague Stinger is another one. Getting into some of the double paragraphed cards that we should talk about. So Faceless Butcher, Horror, 2/3. When it ETBs, remove target creature other than Faceless Butcher from the game. So exiling removal. When it leaves play, return it. But what happened is, old school wise, while these two actually were put on the stack, and this would resolve first, and if you I'm trying to figure out how to say this right. If you like sacrifice this before this part resolves, that creature never comes back. And so you can see they've changed the wording now. There's a big difference between Oblivion Ring from Lorwyn and Banishing Light from Theros. And that's a big reason why they did that, because it's kind of like a feel bad for newer players. It's not super intuitive, and they just don't like that kind of wording. It's kind of abusive at points, a few corner cases, but it's still abusive. So, but this is why I went down the route of like sacrificing creatures and bringing them back, and then you're able to just exile forever, but still get this back, have it mill again, mill again. And so that's kind of what I'm hoping to go for. And these kind of cards are pretty sweet. This one's, I think, pretty bad. I think there's a few that are just a handful that aren't very good. Maybe it was a different one. But when it ETBs, sacrifice it unless you remove a creature you control other than Wormfang Drake from the game. So this is something that would like exile your creature. You wouldn't want to sacrifice it until after everything resolves. Then you sacrifice it, bring back the other horror. That could be something that might make the cut. There was another one that's like your opponent chooses to exile something of yours, and you're like, "Oh, that's real bad." It was like a frog with teeth, whatever one that was. This one, same thing. That's a double paragraph, and so when it ETBs, they will remove a card from their hand. So this is kind of like the worm from before, and I just. Only reason it might make it is because it's a horror. So that works. Spellskite is a horror. I love this card. Wormfang Crab. When it ETBs, an opponent chooses a permanent you control and removes it from the game. Yeah, so this one, if people like you, you can play around with this, but everybody would just choose my best creature, basically. And so, or just the worst thing for me, because it's a permanent. It can be anything. Could be anything on their board, and they're just going to hit my best thing. So I'm not going to play this. I'm going to instantly cut it. But if you're good with politics and you're like, hey, if you exile this, then I can bring it back, and then we can mill this guy even more. This could be kind of a fun card. So that's Wormfang Crab, instant cut for me. Hypnox is a huge horror, 8/8, and then it exiles an opponent's hand. This one's probably too rich for my blood in a CMC style card. It is 8/8 flying. I'm not going to instantly cut it. Depending on if I go the route, Mind Slicer, or everybody discards their hand. If it dies, I can kind of control that. Not sure how much I want to do that, but it's a horror. Phyrexian Obliterator is a horror. Kirk is a horror, so totally right on that. Devouring Strosis. At the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice a creature. I'm already wanting to sacrifice. This is a horror. A 9/9 flying trample, and then you can sacrifice to regenerate it. This is maybe too rich for my blood, but it could be a fun one. Eater of the Dead. Tap, or no, you take one creature from any graveyard and remove it from the game. Untap Eater of the Dead. This card probably goes really well with Prismatic Mantle. What's the 0 equipment? You equip it, tap it for mana, and then you can just make a ton of mana that way. It's 5 to come out, but it's old school. Could be kind of fun. A horror that deals damage. No. I know. All right. I'm not saying horror. I'm saying horror. Saying horror. Probably just getting slurred. I should have like grabbed a drink or something. All right. So that can be dealing damage to people when they are having like tokens. It's 6. It has transmute, so maybe you go and find something else. Changeling. Yeah, we'll see. Hunted Horror is a horror. Banehound is a horror. Lifelink Haste is cheap. Oh, already had Phyrexian Gargantuan in there, so I can get rid of that. Soul Scourge. This is that double paragraph thing, so they lose 3 life and then they can gain 3 life. This is one of them where I'd want to like sacrifice 3/2 flying. It's 5. It's probably a little too expensive, but if I need horrors, then I'm gonna make it. Can combo with Phanix. Oh yeah, that's really true. Eater of the Dead can combo with Phanix. Oh shit, I don't want to combo though. That's a good point. Cabal Therapist is a horror dealing with hand sight. So maybe there is something to go with like messing with people's hands. I don't know if I really want to. That could be something. First Fear Gargantuan on Earth, drawing you a card, losing a life. It's kind of infinite though. The Eater of the Dead with Phanix, like you tap, mill 4 or 5, and then you can remove a creature to untap it, and then boom, do it again. Like, kinda. I'm probably okay with that. That's obscure enough. Like nobody's gonna be like, "What the fuck, milling me again with Eater of the Dead and Phanix?" Yeah, probably not that big of an issue. Masquerade Nexus. I think this one's gonna be pretty necessary in here. Yarok's Fernlacker, Lurker, horror, ETB messing with their hands. This might be messing with people's hands too. Night Howler, horror, it gets big for as many creature cards in all graveyards. Might not really be that big if I'm exiling everybody's graveyards, but still kind of cool. Horror draws you a card, loses a life. So this is the one, Abyssal Nocturnus. Whenever an opponent discards a card, Abyssal Nocturnus gets +2/+2, gains fear until end of turn. So if like you wheel or you're making everybody discard, gets +2/+2, harder to block. Actually, I kind of like that way. I might be messing with hands. Not just because of this, but it does seem like there's a few cards that kind of just mess with hands. Valthus, Nightmare, giving Umbris Menace and Death Touch, so that could be nice. Woe Strider, horror, and it is a nice sack outlet for this. Flesh Writher, horror, transfigure, so it's kind of a. Do you guys consider transfigure a tutor? Am I getting in trouble with? I say that I don't really use tutors, but this does. There's a couple of cards in here that would transfigure, goes in a hand. Oh, this one actually goes into play, but I have to play it, transfigure it, and then that for whatever. Yeah, we'll see. Hell's Caretaker is a horror or nightmare. I don't remember which one. I think it's a horror. Mage Hunter is a horror. That's kind of a cool one. That's that infect that we were talking about earlier. I'm going to instantly get rid of that. Guilt Feeder is dealing damage for the amount of cards in a person's graveyard, and it's a horror. So this one's probably just going to get cut. I'm just cutting that right off that way. it's a fair tutor. You guys think that that's a fair tutor? Like, yeah, I can agree with that. I don't have that. I wouldn't feel bad tutoring for that. Um, Sacrifice 3 other creatures. There's a horror. It switches into not a horror, but that doesn't matter at that point. I've had this work for me in token decks. I don't know if I'm going to want to be sacrificing 3 creatures at once, but it's still something. Like, it's a horror. Dread Presence is a nightmare. Could be kind of cool. It's nice little card advantage for swamps. Slum Reaper is a horror. Everybody's sacrificing 2 creatures. Sewer Nemesis. Again, I could just kill it outright if I'm removing graveyards, so I just don't think that's going to work. Ravenous Chupacabra is going to be an awesome horror. When this ETBs, I lose 3 life. I don't know if I super like that if I'm going to be trying to death flicker this kind of stuff. So, going away. When it's put in a graveyard from the battlefield, each opponent loses 2 life. 2/2 Swamp Walk. I like that a lot better, especially if I'm death flickering. That one will work. Same thing. This is a horror, a nightmare, one of those 2. You can go search for other mercenaries. Instantly cut at this point. Abyssal Gatekeeper is a horror. And again, might make it. It's cheap. Blood Curdler. It gets +1/+1 if there's threshold. I don't know how much I'm going to be. Yeah, Hell's Caretaker is a horror. Thank you, Bill, from Woodbury. And so you can mill yourself. I don't know how much I care about that card. It's not really on. It's just cheap. I already did Faithless Butcher. All right. So Chainer. I think this is a dangerous card in here because you can ETB a bunch of nightmares, which would be cool. But if somebody removes it, you're going to be removing a lot of your own creatures. So I don't know how I feel about it at this point. I'm going to keep it in, but it's probably just going to be a lightning rod to remove my board and only my board. I don't really like that idea. Just another horror. Neolith. Void Beckoner is a horror and a nightmare. Probably too expensive, but giving stuff Death Touch is kind of cool too to draw. Quadus' Champion, that double paragraph where you can abuse it a little bit. And it regenerates. We'll see how that goes. Void Maw is kind of cool. If another creature would be put into a graveyard from play, remove it from the graveyard instead, and then put a card removed from the game with Void Maw into the owner's graveyard, and it gets +2/+2. It could get really big. I wish it was just any exiled card. That would be sweet, right? But this could maybe get pretty big. Roiling Horror, probably too expensive, so I won't talk about it much. Greater Harvester is a horror, but not going to be that good. You got to sacrifice a permanent, and then they got to sacrifice 2 if it deals damage. Not really dealing too much damage. Doom Whisper is probably going in as a nightmare. Fume Spitter, you could sacrifice it, put a -1/-1 counter. Just a cheap horror. All right, did Plague Stinger. And the last card, Plague Mirror, or Plague Horse Mirror, Plague Mirror. Infect, more Infect. No. So this is just kind of like a small board wipe. It might work, might not. So that is a bunch of cards that I just talked about. We did about an hour there. I think what we want to do now is I'm just going to break it up into those sections a bit. Let's try and get it down to the horrors and the nightmares just to see where we want. There we go. And so one thing we're going to just check, like that's a thick stack. I was kind of worried about how many nightmares and horrors we have. But let's just go with like CMCs at this point. Shit's inverted right now. So we're going to go 1, 2. We're just going to do like CMC of stuff and just see where stuff land. I'm just going to cut Chainer. I don't think we need that. 2, 3s, 4s. And then we're just, when you do like the CMC of stuff, you're able to see where things are too thick, too thin. Normally I like my stuff in the like 1 through 5, and then 6 and higher, 6 CMC and higher is just going to be like more like just has to be actually pretty powerful. I'll get rid of Masquerade Nexus. Well, that's making creatures. I like that. That's 6, 1, 5. So I think, did you guys like Adam's pushing Infect? He can go fuck off. I'm just kidding. I love you. They have to be damn powerful to be getting in the 6+ range, in my opinion. And so I can go through I don't know how many cards we're going to be drawing. Oh, Psychosis Crawler is going to be Psychosis Crawler is going to be really cool if I go wheeling. 5. So I think one thing that we want to do a little bit is just go through and find the cards that we absolutely want. And then we'll make a pile out of that, and then we'll see how many creatures we have. Because it's want. It's, you may or may not need it. But if you really like it, you should put it in. Make sure that you're trying to put it in. And then we can work from there a little bit. So the cards that I absolutely am going to want out of this, I don't care about any of that right there. I don't think there's enough counters on anything, so I'm going to cut Thrumming Bird pretty quick. It's on the chopping block. Thing in the Ice is in. So we'll put that right there. Phyrexian Revoker goes in. Spellskite goes in. I think that's absolutely all that I want in right there. I think I'm going to go with the wheel route, the few wheels that I had in there. I'll have to take a look again. Chasm Skulker, definitely going in. I love that card. We just did the stable verses on that. So I think that's pretty cool. That might have a chance. Grizzleaxe is definitely in. Eternal Scourge might have a chance. I want Phyrexian Rager. I like Abyssal Nocturnus. I like Balthus just for the menace. I like Wool Strider for the sack outlet and it being a horror. And then those others can be filler if needed. All right. We'll set that up there. All right. And we can start reducing these a little bit too. And go through 4. We can. All right. Don't love it. Don't hate it. I think Faithless Butcher is going to go. Mind Slicer probably is going to go. It's how am I going to get? Okay. Bill from Woodbury saying, what card count already? Gotta be 100 plus. Yeah. It's definitely over 100 plus without lands. But that's the point of this, going through, just going ideas and start cutting ideas and trying to go and make this easier. I'm going to feel bad if I don't use Phyrexian Obliterator because I fucking love this card. Masquerade Nexus is definitely going in. Hell's Caretaker, I think, is perfect. Mage Hunter, I think, is going to do some work. Dread Presence is going to be awesome. And Ravenous Chupacabra, definitely going in. And so we set that off to the side. There's tons of options that I thought we were going to be a little short, but Docent, I don't know. It's making Human Wizards. Not right now. Consuming Aberrations definitely in. Maybe not Nemesis or Reason. I like that. Ashiok's going in. Psychosis Crawler's going in. Eater of the Dead, I think, is going in at this point. And Doom Whisper is going in. Whoop. And so drop these. So that one might be too expensive. So like right now we're getting into like they got to be darn good. And so right now Hullbreaker Horror's in. Mind Leech, I'm just going to cut that. Kuruk probably makes it. I don't. This one I think would be fun. Like who the fuck knows about that one? Steve is saying, I mean, I like it. Bill saying, this is exactly how I end up making decks. And I always get down to like 110 cards and decision paralysis for a month. So hopefully I can help you out here. Because what you really want to do is go through and just find the cards that you absolutely love, absolutely want to put in. So right now I cut technically right here. I'm going with this batch. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. I could probably stand adding another 5 to 8 cards in here. Like, it's not bad. You know, if it's tribal, I care about horrors coming into play. I'm probably going to want that creature count a little bit higher, but I know that I just made it easy going. I'm at 22. So that is going to be some work. I know I like my decks of 2 colors being at about 36 land at this point in my commander lifetime. And so that is going to be something that I know that I'm aiming for. So what's that? 63 cards? 63 cards I'm aiming for. So right now I have like a third of my deck kind of already figured out. All right, let's see here. I got a handful of clones. We'll probably just start working through this. I think right now. All right, so clones. I don't love this one. I kind of like reflections. Spark Double definitely wants to go in. I like the idea of Orvar. That one's being cut instantly. I don't think I like that one enough. I don't hate these. But like in compared to this one, I don't know if I really like that one either. But making two copies seems pretty well. You should start the stream with a card count, and then when you finish, you say how much you cut. Yeah, I should have probably counted how many cards I was working with. That's something that maybe I can talk about on the next one. So I don't hate any of these as clones. But I don't love them. I don't absolutely love them. I think Orvar is going to be a really cool card. Spark Double getting 2 Umbris triggers is going to be sweet. I should probably find the other Sakashimas and make that. Okay. Okay. So Corey's saying that Reflections is slow, but always does work for me. I don't build a lot of tribal. And so I have not used this at all, but I think it has a pretty decent shot at this point. Maybe I'm going to put that in the not like absolutely pile, but these 2 will make it into the yes. They're probably making it into the deck. I don't think I'm going the mill route at this point. And so I'm probably not going to go with the mill route. So I know I can probably cut Mention, Bubble Matrix, Statecraft. If anybody has a Statecraft deck, I've been wanting to play this card for a long ass time and I just can't find one. Startle Awake, I think, just doesn't make the cut. Tasha's Hideous Laughter. I think that one's going to be rough as well. I'm willing to keep this because it absolutely exiles. And so it's not like BSing around, but the others are just cut. Altar of Dementia sticks around. Fennec still makes the cut at this point, especially with Eater of Hope when you were bringing that up. I think that's a good idea. Mind Crank does some mill. I think we liked the idea. This will stick around. I don't know if it's absolutely making it, but I think the idea of like drawing and discarding and wheeling, I think that package, I think that goes in. I think that will be in. We'll aim for that. We will just add in our protection. That'll just go in pretty easy. I did not do my count. So I think Urza's Incubator and then Herald's Horn. I think that just goes in. We'll say that goes in right away. Wayfarer's Bauble will go in. Mind Stone goes in. Arcane, Felwar. You know, the boring ones just kind of, they work, and so they go in my opinion. We'll add Demir Signet and Talisman of Dominance in as well. Those both work. Sea Squire, dead. That one's cut, absolutely. And so that'll be off to the side. Burnished Heart, I think, goes away at this point. We'll keep that in just in case. I don't know where our numbers are at. Solemn, we'll keep that in. I like Nightscape, kind of works well. I'm falling behind here. Bill saying Book of Boba Fett did hostile creeping to get in the. Yeah, yep. I already talked. Hey, Bill. I already talked about hostile. I don't know where the fuck that one went though. Okay, so I already talked about the Eldrazi and going almost skipping ahead. Okay, cut. Those ones absolutely go away. Almost the main reason why I want to go build this deck is Oblivion Sower, so that absolutely goes in. I'll get rid of Ulamog's Nullifier. That's not really worth it. I don't really like counter spells anyway. You might, so you might want to add that in. Let's see here. I don't know about these cards. Hostile. I fucking creeping in. Like this was perfectly named card, right? It's such a good one. Unfulfilled Desires is going in. Heirloom Blade is going in. And then the other ones are kind of, I might just have to figure out better on blockability. I'm not entirely sure at that point. But we'll have a batch of that right now. So, the flicker effects, I wish, because right now that's not going to adjust properly for you guys either. I know that because it's part of the reason why I was so late to this. I know it's a land. And so we have a bunch of cards that can kind of like bring cards back or blink them, and we just got a handful of stuff. And we got to figure out how many we actually have here. Oh, that's a thick amount here, and we'll consider. So that right there, that's a lot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 24, 5, 6, 7, 28, 9, 31, 32. 32 just is clearly going to be too much. We probably want to be down around like 8 to 12. And so like Cauldron of Souls, I think does a lot of work. I think that's going to work. So Undying Evil, Malakir Rebirth, Kaya's Ghost Form, Supernatural Stamina. And then I think we do, Panharmonicon works. Displace is in there. Like I said, Lifeline is for sure going in. And then Macias is going in. And we're probably all over the bit on CMC. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we're at 8. We got a couple cheapies, a couple of expensive. That probably helps out with the curve. Kind of want to look at that. So right now, we probably want to go with some consistent. So Phyrexian Reclamation, Mimic Vat probably has a good shot. I don't think the returning stuff is going to work very well in this regard. Maybe one of them. Crystal Shard has a shot because you can hit your opponents with that as well. Portal doesn't work. Cunning, Vidalkin, I think it's just too much work for what you're doing. Like, you're just focusing on yourself. That's just kind of taking out stuff. So Crystal Shard makes it. Cloudstone Curio, just because it's super powerful, has a shot. Essence Flux is really good just with that CMC, like just one. It's really good. Deadeye Navigator, being able to do that over and over is pretty good. Shoot. I like False Demise. And we'll put Edbringer's Revel in there. I'm gonna just end up putting them all in there. This is the part that's kind of hard, right? All right, so I think Fool's Demise is too expensive. Infiltrator's Mage Mark isn't gonna work. Necromance's Mage Mark, Promise of the Dead. I think the rest of these can go in the maybe pile. Maybe pile is getting to be big, but right now we're in a lot of trouble because we're already up there. That's got to be about 40, 50 cards, and we got about that much left. So this is going to be the removal part, like exiling, and let's see how big this is. Yeah, so this is kind of the last of it. And so I think Chain of Vapor gets cut just because, like, I thought it was a good idea to kind of go back and forth, and like I'm not worried about my stuff, but at the same time, it's not exiling. I just don't think I don't think it's necessary. So I think I'm gonna put it in the maybe pile. I'm not really a counterspell kind of guy, and this being at 4, not really my deal. Summary Dismissal is gonna go. Ashiok's Erasure is gonna go. Void Shatter has a chance since it's 3. So we'll put that in the maybe. Stolen Goods, I think, is just kind of a fun card and has a chance to exile a bunch, so that can be good. Necromancer, maybe. Gaunty is a maybe. Mind Eaters, probably not. Dark Imposters for sure gone. Brain Maggot's gone. Callous Blood Mage is gone. Web Inertia, definitely in. I think Author of Shadows has a good shot. Weathered Wretch goes away. These will be maybe. Settle the Score is going to be Sorcery, just gone. Exile each creature with power greater than the number of cards in your hand. Exile each creature with power less than the number of cards in your hand. I don't really like it as a wrath, but I like exile as spot removal here. I think that's an all right idea, but I don't really want to be hitting my own creatures. But I don't really have any wraths in here at this point, so I'm not sure how excited I am about that idea. Making tokens and some removal. It's an instant. I guess I didn't really realize that. So maybe that works. Deadly Rollock stays in. Leyline is going to be perfect. I think that's going to be good. This is that sorcery speed again. Has flashback. I think that gets cut. Cunning Rhetoric has a good shot of being in. Gravestorm, good shot. Planar Void, that's a maybe. Planar Nexus or Parallax Nexus, I think it's going to be a cool card. Yes, it does, Gwen. Curse of the Swine does exile, and it is yeah. And Parallax Nexus, just because it's so temporary, is going to get cut. Mind Swords, messing with hands. I already talked about probably want to deal with that, so we'll do that. Raven Form can stay in. Reality Shift. Mind's Dilation, I think, is interesting. Curse of the Swine's in. Ashes to Ashes are in. Elspeth's Nightmare, I think that's just cut right away. I don't think that's very good. But Go Blank messes with the hand and exiles a graveyard. I think it has a pretty good shot. Nihil is targeted. Soul Guide Lanterns for sure in. Oh, that's a for sure. For sure. Relic, Lantern, Sentinel, Totem. Those are maybes, but I think they end up getting cut. Thought Knot's getting cut right away. Bane is at 7, and I'm probably going to want to be playing like Horrors or something at that point. I'm not going to be really going that much Eldrazi. Again, you can, and I think that could work for you, but I think I'm going to pass. Ashiok, this one does exile, but like no other synergies. I don't think that's really going to work for me. Oh, it is a nightmare when you're bringing it back. That's a maybe. Ashiok Dream Render is for sure going in just with the exile. Ona's a maybe. Hostage Taker's a maybe. Fathom Feeder. I think that's gone. Sire is in. Mind Melter is gone. Phantom Steed. Gwen, you're watching now, so I think you can I think that could be really cool in this or any ETB deck, actually. And so has a shot. Tormod's Crypt has a shot. I think. Okay. All right. So right now, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 71. So this is 71. This is 71 cards right here. I know that it's too much. I got my maybe pile, which is a lot more. But let's go through and just start cutting cards because we know that we're already heavy and we can still keep them in the maybe. This is my absolutely getting cut. There's no coming back from it for the most part. And I can be much more aggressive in my maybe pile. So Nazumi's gone. If you're countering a spell, you want to counter it. And so if they can remove their graveyard, I mean, it's on theme in this deck. But again, when you're countering, you want to counter. Like when you're removing, you don't want them to give the choice like, yeah, I'll just remove my graveyard. Because if they don't have a graveyard, then it's just an easy counter for them as well. So that's going to go. Dissipates can stick around for now. Phantom Steed can stick. Hostage Takers, cool. I think I'm just going to cut these ones that exile all graveyards. Nihil Spellbomb will stick around. Go Blank can stick around. Stick. Let's get that on the other side of the removal. Mind Swords is kind of cool. Planar Void. We can cut that for now. We'll keep that around. Gaunty, I don't think does enough for 4 mana, and it only exiles 4. I don't think I'm going to have an issue with card advantage. This one's probably going to get cut at this point. Callous Blood Mage. We can I'm kind of starting to like the Necromancer idea as well. Whenever a non-token creature an opponent controls would die. So it'd have to die. So if I wheel, that's not really going to affect stuff as well. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see if that works. Stolen Goods, like exiling is kind of cool, but stealing isn't going to be doing a whole ton here. Probably can cut that. Void Shatter can stick around. Chain of Vapors making another round. Nightmare Shepherd's fine. Blink, blink, blink. Reanimation for 5. I kind of still like that idea. I don't like Infernal Offering as much anymore. We'll keep that one around. Keep. I don't know where my mana's at. I think Sildevi can stay. That can stay a maybe. Stay a maybe. Oh, yeah, this is a land. So this one's gonna make it. You're right, Bill from Woodbury. So right now we're doing some work. So I want to still see, probably still drawing cards. ETB on the Eldrazi are going to be important. The unblockability. Solemn, being able to blink him wouldn't be bad. Burnish Heart's cut. Heartless Summoning could be solid. I don't think Tasha's does enough. It's just exiling. But it can make the one-shot part can be huge. Yeah. I think that stays around. Altar stays around. Fenix can stay around. Mind Crank, Reflections. I think that clone goes away though. Like it's probably just not worth it. I can't control that. Mirror Mockery. Because I can put this, whenever enchanted creature attacks, you may put a token into the battlefield that's a copy of that creature. So if I put this on like an Umbris or anyone, yeah, that might be okay. I don't hate it at this point. Stunt doubles, maybe a little expensive, but it is any creature. Mirror Image is your creature. Maybe I just get Phantasmal Image in this stack. Hypnox will stick around just because they're big fatties. Void Beckner can go away. That can stick around. This one might not. I like the Unearth though. That can be cut because that's just, it has to hit the graveyard. And then it's just a 4/4 figure. Like it's not doing anything else beyond that. Laquatus's Champion, I think. Can stick around. Stick around. Mind Flayer's gone. Docent's here. Drolf's Masterpiece can go. Stick around. Soul Scourge. Stick. What's this one do again? Power and toughness are each equal to the number of total minus life total of an opponent. Probably it's not really on theme. Greater Harvester is sacrificing, not really on. Infectious Horror. We can keep that around. Not going to be too much. Mind Slicer is messing with hands, and then if I can refill a hand, that might work. Horror, Nightmare, Scabruinator's cut. Slitherwisp is cut. Eternal Scourge can stick around. Wormfang might still work. Night Hauler probably won't work, which is sad. That art is fantastic. Blister Grub can stick around. Plague Mirror. I could be all right with that. Banehound. This is a sack outlet, but I don't think that one's going to work. Cabal Therapist just isn't going to work well. -1/-1 counter. Thrumming Bird. Cut. Eldrazi. Oh, I can make Eldrazi horror tokens with this. Okay, I like this one. That can stick around. Shapeshare can stick around. Whenever one or more cards are put into your graveyard from the library, Devourer gets that many 1/1 until end of turn and can't be blocked this turn. I don't have put into your graveyard from your library, so it has to be from the library. I don't have much self-mill here, so that can be cut. And Merrick Fiend can stick around. I don't think Hunted Horror really fits in this deck, but it could be kind of a bruiser too. That can stick around. That messes with the hand. Actually, that just goes on theme. That's sacrificing. All right. So we just straight up hardcore cut that many at that point. So these are the stack of maybes. We got enough maybes. And we got enough of the yeses. And so as no, Chainer didn't make the cut, Bill from Woodbury. I'm just afraid of when it leaves and taking all the nightmares with it. I think that's going to happen more than I would like to have happen. And then Gwen, I'm not worried about my levels of where my draw is at this point. That's where I see. Sorry, I need to read it. She's suggesting changing this to Nekusar, and you're not being helpful. Thank you. So right now, this is where I would probably start going, like, where are my levels at, though? Like, do I have enough draw? Do I have enough ramp? And so let's kind of start working with that. This part might be, we'll figure it out, because I don't think my camera's gonna pick up very well on this. But so messing with the hand, hostile, just I'm not gonna worry about that, but it's in the just being a land is gonna work. All right, so ramp. We got draw, we have graveyard removal. That's gonna be draw. This is probably can be considered draw. Let's put removal, hand removal, graveyard removal, exile, graveyard. That one is protection. This one is that one is going to be, what is it called? We'll call it blink and recursion. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17-ish in that. So we'll have to definitely cut in that range. If we want to be really mean, we can add in like Narset to when we wheel, but I'll definitely avoid that. Draw. This is a ramp card, in my opinion. Ramp. Herald's Horn, I will consider ramp at this point. Same thing with Urza's Incubator. Protection for Winged Boots, Greaves, and Cloak. Waste Not is kind of we'll see. We'll see. That could be draw. We'll put all that in draw. Waste Not's just kind of an extra card at this point, like just working on there. We can put the then we just got creatures. We got horrors. We got a ton of horrors. So that can be that's removal. Let's go through and get the obvious. That could be removal. Graveyard Hate. Kind of works with Waste Not. That can draw me a card. Oop. That can be removal. That's removal. Sack Outlet. Did I have a Sack Outlet section? Not yet. That kind of just works. That's draw. That's draw. Protection. Kind of removal. Kind of removal. Okay. Then we got a stack that doesn't. It's like reanimate, which is reanimation's kind of protection, which is kind of the blinky stuff. So I don't know how much I'm going to want of that. What other stuff do I have messing with hands? Not a whole ton. There just isn't a whole ton of a strong anything other than like what Umbris is doing. So, so that's just a stack off to the side at this point. That is what we got going on there. So, okay, how much draw do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That's like bare minimum. We'll probably want to look at some more draw. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Again, bare minimum, and some of it's kind of expensive. Let's see here. Okay, so this is where you get stuck. And so let's go through the maybes. Let's maybe look for some more draw. Where's our removal at? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Not a ton. So, and you kind of got some graveyard removal. I have a feeling we're going to want a few more in there. Although I kind of like what's going on here. I think I want to find Paradise Mantle to interact with that a bit more as well. Let's see here. So protection-wise, I have a feeling I'm going to get rid of Greaves, because that doesn't allow me to do blink effects or anything on whatever, probably Umbris and needing to protect it. So I think, and I want to try Winged Boots. It has a little bit of evasion. So right now we'll cut Greaves, but it's off to the side, not in the cut anymore. It's like the cut maybe. And then I have the not cut maybe pile. Let's see here. I like Psychosis Crawler in this idea at this point, messing with hands. I mean, I like all these cards at this point, but I'm not 100% sure on where to go with this. All right. Let's see here. This one messes with a hand, so we'll add that in. Let's see if there's anything. Is there anything that can get me some more card advantage? Or ramp? Mm, I don't hate that. Let's put Heartless Summoning in the ramp section. Um, we can do Solemn in the ramp section. We'll do these in the protection spot. We can do that in the removal. That messes with the hand. Draw, draw, draw. Graveyard. Removal. I don't think Phantom Steed makes it. That can be added in. I like that as hand. Removal, removal. Oh, I kind of messed up. These should all be in there. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's hand. That's exile. I think that's cut at this point. Necromancer's gone. Void Shatter. Chain is gone. Maybe I should just see what I want to put in. All right. I kind of like, but that's just, it's not doing a whole ton. So let's just keep on going. So I got a bunch here that I can add in or not. And we will just have to see if that's going to work. I might not be going mill. There might just be Tasha's Hideous Laughter. I think that kind of goes in at this point. I think Ona's probably too much work. Probably in that idea of the mercenaries and like reducing activated ability costs. I still like the idea of some blink, but we might not. I like that in there. Probably get rid of that with the exile. Probably get that's. Did I do that? Yeah. Draw, sacrifice. I normally put scry in this the draw part, especially if it's weak. And so now we got. We'll see how this goes. All right. At this point, we got a stack of maybes. We have some. Okay. So let's take a look here. How many cards do we have? All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. That's starting to get into 14, but Urza's Incubator and Herald's Horn, I don't think I'm that strong of a horrors yet. So those might be like bad. So drawing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I'm starting to like that a bit more. Especially with like the scries. Like, did I have Woe Strider in here at that point? That's probably over here, huh? And so, yep, Woe Strider can go right there. That's Evasion with the Menace. Maskwood Nexus is just going to be so dang good. And so right now we have kind of lowered it down to a manageable amount of cards. My biggest problem, I think, is going to be this Blink Graveyard package that I'm thinking I want to do. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. That's probably 10 too many. And this is where my maybe pile is right now. And most of these, there's a handful of them that have a shot. But I have enough cards in this deck right now where it's and it's fine. Good night, Gwen. And so like I'm not gonna be mad if none of these make the deck. Let's put Kuruk in just because it's just a really, really powerful card. Kind of and then the rest, I think we can just kind of there are some cards that I think I'm going to be adding in a bit later, but we'll set them off to the side for right now. Okay, let's see here. We have 3, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 3, 3, 5, 6, 1, 3, 3, 3, 6, 5, 4, 5, 1, 1, 1, 1, 3. Okay, so we're looking at like top end Machias, Dede Navigator. I think those can be really powerful cards here. I'm gonna have to look at my sack outlets at this point. But I like both of these ideas. The surprise, I think, makes it a little bit better. I like all of these cards as well. Panharmonicon is gonna get a good shot in there. I think Cloudstone Curio is probably tied to Urza's Incubator, because if I can reduce the cost, cast more cards, I think that works really well. I think Mimic Vat might just be getting pushed out at this point. So that can go back in the maybe. Crystal Shard can be kind of a gotcha card or make people not want to cast something right away. I think False Demise just isn't, it's too expensive compared to these one shots. Like, I think that's going to be a problem. It's better just to have it be cheaper. I think with this being 4 mana, I think that works. But I think the double... okay, so this is where you can get stuck in between. I think the double bounce is probably a better play than Endbringer's Revel. But I'm probably going to cut this. But I know this is kind of the card that's kind of fun for people to play around with and see and stuff like that. So whatever your choice is, definitely, just make a reason for it. Teferi's exile a target permanent you control, so that can protect a permanent. Return that card to the battlefield under your control. That kind of sways me in that regard. And then all of these are solid enough. And so if we go Orvar, we do like the instance parts of this as well over instead of Endbringer's Revel. And so we can kind of do that. So working through there, I cut fucking 4 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So I think I'm probably too heavy on that top end. I think Panharmonicon is genius. Cauldron of Souls is great. This one's only returning 2 cards. It's milling. It mill 10 for me, and then returning 2 creatures. It could do some work. Lifeline's going to be really nice. I think Machias might be overcosted. Am I taking crazy pills here? All right. Good night, Bill. I think Machias might be just a little too expensive, heavy on the CMC. Not really. It's not a nightmare or horror. But damn. Destroying humans when they deal damage to you is good. I am not 100% sure on where I would go with this. How about I'm going to reluctantly cut Machias at this point. I think this is kind of a cool card. I think maybe we just let's cut Deadeye as well. And then we're respectable. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Respectable at this point. And so we have, let's figure out how many creatures we actually have in here. Let's break this up into types. So artifacts, we got sorcery, we have enchantments, instant, enchantment. So sometimes this is a good way to find out, like, are you too heavy on instants, not enough creatures? Are you going to be weak in a certain area? Artifacts. Let's see here. Creatures. Let's lay that down there. Enchantment, artifact. Creature. Enchantment, creature. Sorcery. Enchantment, because sorcery is enchantments. They all have their place when you are putting stuff in their place, but you need to make sure that your ratios are kind of right. All right, into instant sorcery, instant artifact, creature, artifact, walker, creature, enchantment, artifact, creature, artifact, enchantment, creature, enchantment, sorcery, creature, walker, creature. Okay. Normally, like, instant speed is pretty important. Having enough creatures, obviously, in a creature deck is going to be important. I think both of these Ashioks are solid in this deck. I want to try and make sure that they're in there. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 20, 36. So we're probably around 10 too many creatures. I think part of the problem here is when you are, I'm trying to dedicate some, probably too many slots to graveyard hate. Because that is going to end up, like, that's kind of taking the spot of removal, but I'm not really getting rid of removal either. And so we're going to want some of the stuff to be pretty good, pretty powerful. And this is just going to be tough. This is where I think the target player that's just hitting 2 cards, that's kind of tough. Each player removes 2 cards in his or her hand from the game. Do I really want to be hitting my hand? Probably not. Everybody's exiling. That works. Exile removal, Crystal Swine. Are there any other wheels in blue and black that I'm just missing? There's another 2 of you. Thanks for coming out and listening, everybody, anyway. But is there any blue-black wheels that I could add? Ill-Gotten Gains might work in there, but I don't know how much I like that either. So we'll cut that. And I still like Incarnation Technique, so we'll probably just keep that in there. All right, Planeswalkers keep. Cut 3 cards. Let's go with Zat's Will. Hi, Adam. Thanks for sticking around. So instant speed removal makes sense to me. We know that's instant speed removal. We got 2 counter spells, 4 flickers. I think I really like these black spells right there, and I'm gonna like Essence Flux. So from along. Thanks for joining, Gus. Steve, I see. Would it be better to lean into mill more rather than wheels? I get what you're saying. It might work, but I'm not really looking to mill people. Because right now we got some cool cards that interact with drawing a bunch, mainly creatures, but you got Waste Not. And then we have, let's see here. So Chasm Skulker would do really well with a bunch of drawing. Abyssal Nocturnus would get huge with the wheels. Psychosis Crawler can do a lot. And maybe there just isn't a lot. Maybe you're right. Maybe am I just hiding my shit? Just hiding it. Terrible at this. Yeah. Yeah, maybe that's the case. So Steve, is there going to be some cards are there some cards that can allow me to play around with other people's graveyards? Like one thing about mill is that you're only milling and then it's just kind of like boring. Like you're not doing anything with their stuff. So like it's kind of like an alternate game. I don't really enjoy that. But I see a little bit what you're saying. I think these work. I probably end up cutting Waste Not, and we just probably keep these 3 in the 3 mills. I probably get rid of Ill-Gotten Gains, which I already did. Yeah. Yeah. I think that works at this point. Because Car, you got to help you on YouTube out once in a while. Hey, I appreciate you coming by, Corey. So we got some instant speed removal. I think for right now, I think we cut Sat's Will and maybe the two counter spells, because nobody likes counter spells. Nobody likes you if you're doing that. But if somebody like aims to get rid of one of your the Black Primordial can steal creatures from your opponent's graveyards for sure, but that's like it is expensive, but it's not a horror and it's not a nightmare. Maybe that doesn't matter as well. Maybe some because there is a theme where you could be stealing creatures from opponents' graveyards. That could be a thing. Just use your graveyard, use your opponent's graveyard. I'm not sure if that's where this deck is going right now. But maybe I just don't need to wheel that much. Maybe just a couple that I have in here that could work. I don't have to make it a wheel deck. I think flicker effects can be used to stop spot removal and stuff like that. So that can still work to hinder people. Let's look at enchantments here. Web of Inertia, I definitely want in there. Aqueous Form works. Leyline on the Void works. Gravestorm I like. Cunning Rhetoric. Unfulfilled Desires is I like it. Arena, Heartless Summoning, Phyrexian, boom. Yeah, all those seem like they made a ton of sense to me in that one. Maskwood Nexus makes sense. Boom, boom. Boom. Key to the City. We'll stick with that. Spellbomb. I think that just doesn't do enough. Stick. Keep, stick. So we'll keep those out at this point just to figure out how many horrors we have. All right. And I think that was the base part. All right. So let's see where our creatures are at. All right. That's a horror. Boom, boom. Nightmare. That could be a horror. Not anything technically when you're casting. Horror. Eldrazi. Horror. Nightmare. That was a horror. We could just Eldrazi. That's a horror. Eldrazi. Horror. Nightmare. Eldrazi. Boom. Zombie. Boom. And horror. So let's see here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 19, 20, 21. There's only 3 which are highly castable on when it comes to that. And then it kind of looks like we got a stack of cards that might not work. I have a feeling I'm not going to have a lot of blue in here, but I won't cut that until I see it. All right. I don't think Wasteland Strangler I kinda okay, let's see here. Each opponent discards a card. All right. So would I like that better than the 2? Not really. At 4 mana, we'll get rid of Mindraker. We'll have to check on that. But right now, is that 1, 2? So horrors 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 19, 20, 21. What do you guys think? All right. I kind of fell behind there. But fun effect. Yeah. Got it. Missed the theme. Fair enough. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, not saying that I think it just kind of is hard, Gus, to fit in the primordial. Corey's saying maybe not enough for Harold's Horn or Urza's Incubator. Yeah, that's what I'm kind of looking at right here. I think I think I agree. I kind of am tempted to do Harold's Horn over Incubator just for the chance at putting one in my hand. But I still I think they're both kind of cut at this point. The other thing that we can do when it comes to seeing how everything works out is so we know artifacts, so we colorless, and just look at our color where things are laying. That's multi, and so we might not have a lot going on. Might be a heavy black deck. I'm not entirely sure. Probably. But kind of checking for that. Maybe it doesn't matter. That's colorless. Let's check that out. And we have. All right, so we're a pretty thick black deck for Nightscape Familiar to work. Like I'm not sure if I totally like that either. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 22. 22 doesn't work for me either. If it doesn't work for Harold's Horn and Incubator, then it doesn't work for that either. All right, so we just lost 3 ramp cards because they're just not going to work in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. $63. So we're at 83. So we're about 20 over on where we're at or where we want to be. We're coming up on 2 hours. Do you guys want me to keep on going? Or is that something that you want me to do next time? Because right now, I mean, we can check on curve. Right now, we're just kind of trying to see where things are. I'll just keep on going for now. Shit, I'm probably just going to do this anyway. All right, 6, 3. Problem with doing this with a robe on is that you just start waving your hands around like a wizard. I don't know how those guys do their shit. But it is -10 outside, and I'm in the basement, and it's fucking cold. So, and I'll probably always wear a robe just because it's my shtick. 5, 4, 5, 3, 2, 7, 3, 3, 3. I put X spells in the high CMC because that's where I want to be casting them for the most part. Adam's like, if you're gonna stay up anyway, yeah, I'll stay up a little bit. I have a bedtime of midnight, let's say. So, and actually, I'm moving along on this deck. I've been sitting on it, collecting the cards for a bit. Normally, I move at it a bit quicker when I get an idea, but I wanted to make sure that I had. So I'll normally probably be paying 2 for this, so I put that in the 2 slot because and this is free, so that'll be in the 1 slot. But yeah, I generally just try and probably go at it a bit quicker. All right, 2 and 3. All right, high end, Kuruk, Curse of the Swine, Hullbreaker Horror. None of that seems too far off for me. Kuruk, but I'm a heavy black deck, so I'm not going to be terribly worried about that at this point. So I like those. And then the other 2 high ones, Oblivion Sower, Sire of Stagnation. I might be a little bit on the low end for my big punches, but maybe that doesn't matter because Umbris is a little bit of a Voltron on this one. So we'll keep an eye on these cards. Maybe it goes high, maybe it needs to go lower. And so I like that. It's exiling. Before I forget, how about I'm just gonna grab Paradise Mantle. Let's see here. Let's add that in the mix kind of like I want to. Hopefully I got it available. I kind of got a bunch of decks that are sitting in line, and I know this goes in one of them. So I'm hoping I have enough. Maybe I should just pull from that. Oh, maybe. You know what I don't have in there? Let's get that in there. Probably forgot that. Whoops. All right, I don't have one easily found. All right, got one more bit left. You are seeing inside my box right now. It's very fleshy, and I didn't shower today, so I'm sorry. And I don't know if I'm gonna have it. Shit. This is where if I don't have it super available, but we'll add Sensei's Top into the mix just because that's what one does. And as one does, we'll do that. I know. Shoot. Okay. I'm not going to worry about Paradise Mantle until next time. If there is a next time. What? Why what the fuck? Did I do something? Am I in trouble? What'd I do? All right. So reanimation, I still kind of like it. Exiling and getting a little bit of card advantage, I kind of like that. This doesn't work so well. I don't have Fenix in this so far, and so I think this ends up getting cut. at that point. Doom Whisper is ridiculous in any regard. Ashiok works. Consuming Aberration gets maybe huge. But this can actually die as well. I still like the idea of it. I still like it. Lifeline's going to be ridiculous. Cauldron of Souls, Psychosis Crawler, I think still just kind of works. All right. We got... Yeah, well, okay. So, the reason why I had forgotten to put top in was because you're kind of going through and you're trying to find the interesting cards for it, but you don't always find like the cards that you always put in. I sometimes forget to put in Soul Ring. I didn't on this one, but that happens. And so, so there will be cards added into this next time as well. Leyline works, Faithless Butcher works, Chupacabra works, Obliterator's nice, Mage Hunter's fine, Hell's Caretaker works, Dread Presence, Spark Double, Whispering Madness. Let's see here. I got cords and shit everywhere, so I can't like just wiggle stuff around. All right, maybe not that. All right. So right now I want Paradise Mantle. I want 2x Sakashima. All right, that's what I want so far. And we'll see if I need to actually add in anything else. All right, boom. Liking all these cards so far. Whispering Madness, we'll kind of keep that in. Maskwood Nexus. Solemn probably gets a cut. But I like the idea of Orvar in here as well. So that could be kind of a cool little angle in here. We got Phyrexian Arena, Gravestorm, Cunning Rhetoric. Did you see that I was putting this in, Adam, for Cunning Rhetoric? I know that you'll give me some shit on the next time we talk. Dark Deal, Ashes to Ashes to make sense to me. I should have creatures dying, so Midnight Reaper works. Grim, Phyrexian Rager, Woe Strider, Abyssal Nocturnus. Falthus gives a little bit of Death Touch Menace. For Umbris, Flicker, can't attack me. Boom. That is still just exile, but I'm fine with it. Exiling an artifact in a deck that's hard to deal with artifacts is going to be good. Yeah. 4 and 3 and all of them. Great. Grazilax, I think that's doing just enough being a horror and then can draw you cards. Whenever a creature you control becomes blocked, return it to your owner's hand. You may. Yeah. I think that card's going to be bonkers in here. Skulkers should be awesome. Unfulfilled Desires is sweet. Ashiok. I'm thinking Crystal Shard might be subpar at this point. Yeah. We'll cut Crystal Shard. Blade, Cloak, Strangler probably has a good shot. I got to figure out what's going on in the deck at this point. Heartless Summoning, that could be a solid ramp card in this deck. Exile some ramp, but that would, okay. Mesmeric Fiend, that could be fine. Just being a horror, I think, is okay. Wing Boots. Cunning Rhetoric. I am not apologizing for bashing it, but that'll be fine. Wing Boots. I still just maybe forcing this at this point, but I like the flying, the word for. We'll see. Exiling a permanent kind of made me rethink this. I was going to cut this, but then that's kind of good when it's a permanent. Exile Thing in the Ice can remove. That's kind of probably my one wrath in here. Key of the City's probably okay. Like I said, I should probably look into unblockabilities. What is it? Unblockable. All right. Ramp. I'm probably okay with Phyrexian of Revoker. Spellskite's pretty sweet. Top. Cool. That's like kind of on theme. Sack outlet. So this is maybe the difference between, you know, Kaya's ghost form and the blink. So blink is just kind of blink. It happens, you have creatures on it. But with Kaya's ghost form, if you're looking to abuse this and like work with it, you need sack outlets. You need ways for it to die. And so that could probably be the downfall. Like it's just taking up more slots, right? You're doing a lot in this deck. I'm exiling cards. I want Umbris to be kind of unblockable. I'm looking to blink and or death blink things. And so I need sack outlets for the death blink. I need to be able to draw enough cards. I need to be able to ramp. So like the question ends up being like, am I doing enough or too much if I'm death blinking? It goes with yeah. So does Paradise Mantle go with Eater of the Dead or is it just ramp? So what you can do, let's find that. So Eater of the Dead is you can take one creature from any graveyard and remove it from the game, untap Eater of the Dead. So Paradise Mantle equips on here, taps it for a mana. You can pay 0, exile a creature to untap it, and get a bunch of mana that way, and exile a bunch of cards that way. And it would work really well with Fenix, but Fenix didn't make it in here unless I turn mill. So that I think can be kind of a fun way to do it. Would be an easy way to build up some damage over the course of the game. I don't think Corey, I don't think Blood Chief Ascension, I don't know how much damage I'm going to actually be doing. I mean, other than one-shotting people. That's the question. That'll be the interesting bit, and I'm not sure where I'll be going with it. Back to thinking about some of the cards between Deathblink and Blinking. So the other question to think about is how many times do I need a Horror or a Nightmare to come into play where I can make Umbris big enough to be a one shot and stick around for it and everything. And so I don't know how many cards I really should be dedicating to it, but the Deathblink, you know, kind of allows creatures to stick around a little bit more, and blinking it's more reactive, which isn't bad, and you can use it proactive, like you want to exile more cards. So those are just some of the thoughts I'm having that is going through my head right now. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 20, 22, 23, 24, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 82? 82? 82? Did I just cut one card? Is that all I did? Is that all the fuck I did right there? I think I only cut one card that whole way. This is okay. So we're at 82, and our curve looks okay at this point. We're probably, you know, we don't have many cards above 6. Let's go back to figuring out how much ramp, how much draw, how many creatures. Like, let's go back to thinking about. Okay, so blinks. We have a draw. That'll work there. We have exile. We're going to want to go through and see how many sack outlets we have too, but we got what we got at this point. All right, so removal, protection. And this is just exile stuff. I don't know how many slots that we should dedicate to actual removal of graveyards. I just don't know if that's necessary. This is going to be ramp. We're going to say land or hand removal is going to be removal. That's protection. Blink, removal. We'll call that removal. Ramp, protection. Activated abilities of sources with the chosen name can't be activated. That probably doesn't do enough. I'm going to cut that. Spell Sky is nice protection. Draw. We'll call that draw, but it's kind of only draw. All right, removal, draw. We'll call that boom. We can protection. We'll call that draw. This is just, we'll put that in exiling. Removal, draw. Not 100% there. That'll be that. Draw, boom. This is card advantage to a degree. Protection, removal. That'll be removal. Pigging. This is kind of in that realm right there. That is draw. Ramp. So we'll kind of get into that. This is at least draw. Consider that ramp. That's draw. Removal. That's ramp. And this is just kind of what the deck wants to be doing. I don't know if consuming aberration works. Oh, I fell behind. What the fuck? All right. Are you thinking 36 or 37 lands for this deck? I'm saying 36. Yeah. I cut one card. 36 till you find 101, and that's 35. And it's back to 36 the next week. Yeah. So aiming for 36 lands, and I've cut one card so far. Obviously, I'm at a point where I'm kind of getting stuck. Okay, I think consuming aberration, although I think we're milling, so I don't think that's just it's not gonna be that big. I am surprised I'm cutting that. Orvar is kind of cool. Mage Hunter's sweet. All right. So I think when it comes to graveyard shenanigans, I don't think we need to do that much. So I think we can get rid of Nihil. Spellbomb, I think we still want these cards in there so far, but just less slots dedicated to actual graveyard like removal. I think we're just counting on cards. I think, horrors coming into play and doing some damage. 1, 2, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay. I'm okay with the ramp package at this point. I'm not going to be terribly worried about it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 18, 19. 19 seems like a lot. Did I fuck this up? No, that was ramp. Okay. Draw. Okay, we should be at 18, 12. Okay, I'm happy with ramp at this point. This is another graveyard thing, but it gives me a little bit more. Wheel, draw, not really draw. I think wheels are still good. I don't know how much I love these ones at this point, but I do want them. Viscera Seer might get the cut depending on how many sack outlets I have. Because I think sack outlets are going to be at least kind of important. Okay, we're happy with that. Let's see what our protection is doing here. 1, 2, 3, 7, 8 kind of seems a little thick, but I understand why. Hmm. Well, I am not making progress here. I will admit that. All right. I think we're thick there. I think we're happy here. I got rid of Waste Not already. All right, we're at 2 hours 15. So if you are hanging out with me, I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Or if you're just listening through this, checking out how this is going, I think that's going to be cool too. All right, so I want to check out what Orvar can do, like how many cards are actually going to be effective in that regard. I like Spark Double. I don't know. I think I can. I don't want to cut too many horrors in that bit. Like that's not a bad one. That'll. Yeah, we'll cut Mage Horror, Hunter, whatever. So right now we're going to be. We'll want to find that, and we want sack outlets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 was right in that realm of where I would be happy with the reanimate blink package. You know, Steve, I think you're right about cutting Key to the City. I can get behind that. Try and use lands. I do have Shizo Death's Storehouse or whatever it is. So I definitely could put that in here. So Key to the City can probably go. I have been really liking it in decks. And so it's all these cards for a while, like I said, they go into the maybe cut pile. And so I'm just looking for. So the cheap ones are nice because when you have stuff in play, I'm kind of sitting here thinking that the 2 double flickers don't work. Like I think they end up getting cut and I'd rather just be reanimating and having stuff come back for free at that point. I think I'm all right with that idea. Displace, I mean, those would work really well with Orvar though. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14 pieces of removal. The hand ones are decently weak. Each opponent exiles a card. So like it's not going to be overpowered. People aren't going to just think this is a hand killing deck. And I'm okay with that. Cast a spell. Okay, that's all right. That's if it was instant or sorcery, that'd be a little bit different. Phyrexian Obliterator might be a little tough to. That's heavy on the manas. That Oh, I do this. Basically, me and Adam, he's saying that we have basically the same thought process on making decks, but apparently I just do it faster. Well. And so I'm kind of going through this, and Wasteland Strangler can probably go. It's not a horror. It's not. I'm bringing back a card, so I'm shrinking Umbris at this point. And -3/-3 just isn't. It's not amazing. It's not bad. It can be blinked or death blinked. but we'll see. Well, that'll be cut for now. So that exiles, that destroys, that exiles, bounces, exile. I kind of like all of these. Okay. So let's go through. We're going to see what interacts with Orvar, and then we'll see what sacrifice outlets I have. And I will always love you. Normally we'd have music, but this is my first time doing this, and so we don't. We don't have music for this right now. Okay, that can interact with Orvar. That can. That's not instant or sorcery. Don't have a lot of sack outlets here, so I don't know how that's gonna work. Sack outlet. Dark deal. Cunning rhetoric. Sack outlet. Wing boots. Aqueous form. That's a sack outlet. That's not a lot of sack outlets. And we have, let's go through that one more time. Just to make sure, I'm just going to concentrate on instants and sorceries that can target my stuff like for benefit and be fine. Okay, that doesn't work. So instead of auras and that kind of stuff, maybe there's spells that I can cast. And I know there's like a sorcery that allows it allows it to get through unblocked +1/+1. And then that could maybe work with Orvar a little bit more instead of like auras, artifacts, stuff like that. That could be something. I'll have to think about that and yeah, I'll have to think about that. See if I want to go a bit deeper. Yeah, okay. So I only have 3 sack outlets, which definitely isn't enough at this point. And then I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards that would interact with Orvar. That's definitely not enough at this point either. So we just cut this. I need to find more sack outlets. I got a small list of cards. I need to find more stuff that gives me evasion. Maybe some more clones of Sakashima. Get in there. Paradise Mantle. I think right now I'm probably Pyrexene Tower, Steve. Yeah, that would be a good ad. So maybe I need to think more, like get those in the lands as well, because there's high market that can sacrifice. You got Pyrexene Tower, which I could add in there for that. I do not, Adam. I don't have Mirror in the Moaning Well. So I don't have that right now. But I think I'm gonna have to go through and collect a few more cards, add this in. Let's see where I'm at right now. I'm probably at like 79. I kind of like the idea of Orvar, the all form at this point. So I might try and squeeze that back in, but 2, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 7, 8, 9, 40. 60, 73. So we're at 73 cards right now. We would need to cut 10 more, and I want to add cards. And that's all fine and well. But you guys don't need to sit around and wait for me to find cards because that might be a little time consuming. So I appreciate everybody that came out and listened and helped and suggested stuff. Um, and so hopefully I'll be doing this again next week. All right. Thanks for listening. Bye.